Coming up on SUTV, we'll tell you about the Student Programming Board's Disco Skate.
And we'll let you know about Kanab's Little Hollywood Film Festival.
Welcome to SUTV News. I'm Matthew House.
And I'm Jenna Chapman.
SU's Bachelor of Fine Arts students are showcasing their years of work at the Southern Utah Museum of Art this month. The exhibit is comprised of individual displays by each graduating BFA student. The displays showcase a wide range of mediums and styles. Some of the exhibits include ceramics by Lizzie Edwards, skateboards by Kesley Huntington, and a cupcake shop by Jessica Jones. The exhibit is set to close May 5th, just after graduation. SUMA is free and open to the public Tuesday through Saturday.
SU's Communication Department is hosting a student film festival this Friday, April 20th. For the past few weeks, several students have submitted short films under different categories, including fiction, nonfiction, music video, and iPhone. First, second, and third places will be given along with Audience Choice and Best Director. The film showings will begin at 6 p.m. in the Sharwin Smith Center Theater. The festival is free with student ID or $2 at the door.
Every month, SU's student government hosts an event to introduce students to their representatives. Today, they filled the rotunda with food and PowerPoint slideshows. Our reporter Grace Schultz went to learn more.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Eliza Carpenter, who is a Student Life Enhancement Director with SUSA. So, Eliza, tell me a little about this event. Why did you guys put this on?
Sure. So we wanted something interactive that introduced both the old SUSA members and the new SUSA members. And so we've polled parties from both, people that were just barely appointed, as well as those who have been on SUSA all year, to interact with the students and to get to know the students, talk to them, and to let them know what we've been doing this year. We have different stations here that are kind of our year in review. We've got projects we've been working on, the like, etc., that our SUSA members are presenting about in order to inform students what we do at SUSA.
Yes, because I feel like some people don't know what student government does.
Yeah.
So what would you say is some of the most important stuff that is being shown here today? What is some of the most important things that SUSA accomplished this year?
Sure. So we've gotten some really cool special projects. One that we started a couple years ago but hasn't really gotten on its feet is My SU Voice. And that's been a really neat thing where students can give their feedback and we as people and as SUSA members hear it and do with it what we will. So we got a lot of feedback this year on parking, on the testing center, on a variety of things, and we have been contacting those above us, John Allred, the president if necessary, to figure out what can be done about these issues. We've had some other special projects where we're getting more water fountains put in the school. That's a really neat project that we've been working on. The midterm policies, as I'm sure everyone has heard about, we're hoping for that to work, but that's been a big thing we've been focusing on. The tobacco policy, I mean, there is a long list of things.
So many things. Well, thank you so much, Eliza, for taking the time to talk to us. Back to you guys at the desk.
On Wednesday, April 4th, 10 SEU students, as well as Dr. Gavin Feller, Assistant Professor of Media Studies, competed in Kanab's Little Hollywood Shootout Film Festival. The film festival is an annual event that brings professionals, film students, and hobbyists alike from all over. Each team has 48 hours to shoot, edit, and submit their short film. This year's competition theme was Take a Hike. Julian Vick, a freshman international student from the Netherlands, wrote and directed For Better, For Worse. This short film depicted a couple on vacation who, after arguing about marriage and timelines, find themselves in trouble. Let's take a look at part of the film.
Why does it matter what they think? Why should I do what your friends want?
Cassie told me she thought you were a ghost and she's the first time she saw you.
Cassie? Screw Cassie. Screw everyone and their BS opinions and judgment. Why can't I just live my own damn life?
Most of the team, including actors from the theater department, this was their first attempt at film, so when SUU took 4th place, they were excited.
SUU's Student Programming Board hosted the first ever disco roller skating event on campus. Our reporter Ansley Mikesell got the details of how this event came to be.
Last Friday, April 13th, the Student Programming Board welcomed students to roller skate to disco music on the America First Event Center floor. All attendees signed safety waivers and were provided with skates and wristbands. Apparently, the event has been in the making for several years.
One of our directors, Sam Kress, has been involved in SPB for the past 3 years, and it's honestly always been her dream to plan this event. But it's always been hard because there's a risk factor, they don't want to tear up the floors, and we got to have this event because they're tearing up the Centrum floors in May, and so they finally allowed it.
The event was successful as a constant stream of students came to participate, many of which asked to have the event again.
I was talking to the company that runs the roller skating rink, and they said they can do it on carpet, so I thought the ballroom might be a possibility. And they said they actually do a lot of parking lot roller skating rink events, so possibly even in September when the weather is good, having another roller skating event.
The International Affairs Office hosted their annual prom last weekend. Our reporter Bailey Dyer has more with the story.
Southern Utah University's International Affairs Office hosted their annual international prom on April 14th in the Great Hall. Their Night Under the Stars was accompanied by black and silver decor and galaxy-themed accents. The event ran from 9 p.m. until 12 o'clock a.m. with over 500 guests in attendance.
We host prom because a lot of our international students don't get the opportunity to have that experience in their own country. And I feel like it's kind of a rite of passage for an American high school student to go through prom. Part of the reason that I feel like it's so important for our community to be involved, for our faculty and our staff, all students, is that I feel like everyone needs an excuse to get dressed up once in a while and just have a great time and be able to have an outlet to go and have good, clean fun.
The International Student Ambassadors team, led by large-scale events coordinators Abby Stevens and John Woolley, provided music, food, and a festive atmosphere to the attendees.
The best part about planning events for ISA and the best part about planning the event of prom this past weekend was being able to work with everyone and collaborate all of our ideas and then see it all in action and see everyone have a great time.
Students, staff, and community members danced both on and off the main stage platform to songs from all around the world, living up to this event's standard of excellence for both domestic and international students campus-wide. The International Affairs Office and ISA plan to continue hosting events for all of Southern Utah's ever-changing community. For SUTV News, I'm Bailey Dyer.
Coming up after the break, we'll talk about the Canara Falls Rescue.
And later we'll update you on the Boston Marathon.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Don't let E. coli mosh with your food. An estimated 3,000 Americans die from a foodborne illness each year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So always separate raw meat from vegetables. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
A Cedar City man is still missing after 3 weeks. Johnny Dale Rollins was last seen on March 27th just west of the Cedar City Hospital. According to Cedar City Police, Rollins left his house to go for a walk and hasn't been seen since. Police also say Rollins has a history of strokes and may be suffering from dementia. He is 63 years old, white, 170 pounds, with blue eyes and gray hair. They believe he was wearing a black jacket, dark boots, and brown boots at the time of his disappearance. If anyone has information regarding Rollins, they are asked to either contact the Iron County Sheriff's Department or the Cedar City Police Department.
A woman hiking along the Canara Falls Trail yesterday fell backwards off a ladder and broke her leg. The incident occurred approximately 2 miles down the trail, and a member of her party had to hike back down the trail to get cell phone service and call rescue workers. The rescue took about 4 hours to complete and involved 25 rescuers. Alcohol and trail conditions are believed to have been factors in the woman's fall, according to a statement by Lieutenant Del Schlosser of the Iron County Sheriff's Office.
A St. George couple were charged Monday with aggravated kidnapping and aggravated robbery after allegedly luring a man to an isolated area and severely beating him. Sasha Michelle Davis and Cade Robert Scherer allegedly set up a meeting with the unidentified St. George man before tying a rope around his neck and beating him with a hammer. Davis and Scherer were later taken into custody Sunday night in Cedar City. The circumstances around the meeting and the motive for the attack are still under investigation.
The Pulitzer Prize was awarded earlier this week with one category making history. The prize for music was awarded to Kendrick Lamar's album Damn, making it the first time the award has been given to a non-classical or jazz musician. Despite the award making history, several critics were skeptical of the choice, claiming that historically the honor has not been awarded to commercially successful albums. Lamar's album reached #1 on the pop chart. Other notable winners this year include New York Times reporter Megan Twohey and Jodi Kantor, who helped launch the Me Too movement.
The annual Boston Marathon was held yesterday on Monday the 16th. Here's the story about the American who won the women's race. Our reporter Savannah Palmer has more with the story.
For the first time in 33 years, an American has won the Boston Marathon. With a total time of 2 hours, 39 minutes, and 53 seconds, Desiree Linden took the women's race this past Monday. Linden ran through the rain and gloomy weather to win with more than a 4-minute lead to second-place winner, American Sarah Sellers. This is what she had to say.
And Des Linden wins the Boston Marathon! I'm thrilled. I'm exhausted. I left it all out there, and I'm not ready to warm up. I just felt like it was survival out there. I have no idea where things fell behind me. But it hurts right now, but it's a perfect day for me.
I'm Savannah Palmer reporting to you for SUTV News. Back to you at the desk.
The FBI raided the office of President Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, last week. Cohen's attorney, Stephen Ryan, says agents seized privileged communications between Cohen and his clients. Ryan also said the raid stemmed partially from a referral by the Office of Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Cohen admitted to paying $130,000 to porn star Stormy Daniels. Daniels claims her and Trump had an affair in 2006 and the money was to keep her quiet. She claims that she was threatened in front of her daughter by an unnamed individual and has since released a portrait of the suspect. Trump denies the affair and says he knew nothing about the payment.
And it's a disgrace. It's frankly a real disgrace. It's an attack on our country in a true sense.
According to sources, the FBI also seized emails, tax documents, and business records, including communications between Trump and Cohen.
Construction on the U.S.-Mexico border wall has begun. Much of President Trump's campaign focused on his plan to build a wall between Mexico and the U.S., declaring that Mexico will pay for it. The wall is going up, but it's Americans that will be footing the bill. The wall is expected to cost $74 million in taxpayer money.
This project is underway. This is the beginning in this sector of the president's border wall, very much so, yes. Time is now. The numbers are going back up. It's a logical step for us to take, and it's time for us to take it.
President Trump's high-stake trade war with China is causing Iowa soy and pork farmers concern. Earlier this week, China announced that they are putting $50 billion worth of tariffs on U.S. goods. This is in response to Trump's announcement last week that he was considering imposing tariffs on Chinese goods because of what Trump calls China's unfair trade practices. China's tariffs target the United States heartland, including soybean and pork farmers who mainly import to China.
60 U.S. diplomats are back in the United States after being expelled from Russia. The expulsions were a direct response to the United States expelling 60 Russian diplomats 3 weeks ago. President Trump also closed a Russian consulate, and the Russians reciprocated by closing the U.S. consulate in St. Petersburg. The original expulsions were prompted by the poisoning of a former Russian spy and his daughter in the UK in March. The father and daughter are both awake after being in a coma for 3 weeks and are currently recovering in a London hospital. Coming up, our reporter Ansley Mikeshill will give us an update on this week's weather.
Don't go anywhere.
A single ember from a wildfire can travel over a mile. That ember can ignite and destroy your home or community. You can't control where that ember will land. Only what happens before it does. Visit fireadapted.org to learn how you can help protect your community from wildfires.
They made it sound like such a good deal. They said, sell us your house, rent it from us, then buy it back over time.
They said they'd even fill out all of the paperwork for us.
They said they'd stop foreclosure no matter what. Guaranteed.
So we did what they urged us to do.
And we lost our house. We're getting tossed out.
Got scammed.
Professional mortgage scammers can be so convincing. They can cost you money. They can cost you your home. Mortgage fraud. The pros have lots of cons.
Don't be a victim. Protect yourself. Do your homework.
All right, this is your Cedar City weather forecast. I'm Ansley Mikeshill. Who else was super distraught to wake up and see snow on the ground? Because I definitely was. Today it is sunny currently outside, which is nice, but the precipitation is hopefully not going to happen again, but there was some snow this morning, winds at 14 miles per hour, so what's new with Cedar City, really? Statewide, it looks like everything's kind of gotten cold this past 24 hours. I'm not sure why that's happening, but it is. We're down here at 45 degrees. Hopefully that's going to be boosted up to 63 like our fellow St. George people. As for tomorrow, hopefully it's going to warm up, but it's looking like it might stay a little chilly for a little bit, so don't put away your winter coats quite yet. But besides that, it looks like everything is smooth sailing. For the rest of the week, it looks like we might have a little sadness in a couple days, but hopefully as we continue on, everything will continue to rise. It looks like Wednesday and Thursday will be in the 60s, which is a good thing, and then it's going to drop to 55 on Friday. So hopefully the foam dance will not be canceled. Prayers there, everybody. Thank you guys for joining me. Colton, what do we have for sports?
Hey, thank Ansley. Coming up on SUTV Sports, we'll tell you about a new signee for SUU basketball, SUU football's spring scrimmage, the Utah Jazz playoff game, and the very first NWSL game in Utah. Stay tuned.
What do you think it would be like to teach? Chances are, you have no idea. Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places, and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable. That's what it's like to teach.
Welcome to SUTV Sports. I'm your host, Colton Warren. SUU basketball has announced the signing of junior college transfer Jason Richardson. Richardson was the leading scorer for the Fullerton College Hornets, averaging 18.6 points per game in his sophomore season. He also has averaged 5 rebounds and a team high 5 assists. In high school, Richardson was a McDonald's All-American nominee and averaged more than 18 points in his high school career. Richardson will be immediately eligible to play this winter for SUU and will have 2 years of eligibility left. SUU football wrapped up their spring practices last Saturday with their annual spring scrimmage. The purpose of the scrimmage was to have a closer look at position battles, most notably at the quarterback position, with last year's starter Patrick Tyler graduated. Aaron Zwolin, Tyler Skidmore, and Chris Helbig are expected to continue competing for the starting job over this summer as quarterback, and as head coach DeMario Warren said that the battle is still very close to call. Coach Warren also surprised the team with their Big Sky championship rings before the spring semester.
At the end of the day, we'll be proud of what we achieved, right? Everybody remember that? You remember that, Zach? Yep. Did it feel good when you achieved it? Yeah, really good. There you go.
Those guys look like they're having fun. So, the Utah Jazz are back in the playoffs as the 5th seed for the second consecutive year in a row, this time taking on Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, Paul George, and Oklahoma City Thunder. The Jazz took a tough loss on Sunday, playing in OKC, losing 116 to 108, to fall behind in the series 1-0. The newly dubbed Playoff P tied the Thunder's franchise record for made threes in a playoff game with 8, scorching the Jazz for 36 points. Ouch. Westbrook also recorded a new triple-double with 29 points, 13 rebounds, and 8 assists. Utah Jazz Rookie of the Year candidate Donovan Mitchell scored a team high of 27 points, as well as grabbing a career-high 10 rebounds, becoming the first player since LeBron James in 2006 to record at least 25 points and 10 rebounds in their playoff debut. The Jazz and Thunder will meet again tomorrow night at 6 p.m. in OKC for Game 2 of the first round. Utah's National Women's Soccer Team League, the Utah Royals FC, played their first ever home game in Rio Tinto Stadium over the weekend, losing 1-0 to the Chicago Red Stars. The Royals had over 19,000 people in attendance for the game, prompting the team to release standing room only tickets a few days before. The attendance total gave the Royals more fans at one game than any team in the league had all last season by more than 1,000 fans. The Royals' next game will be this Saturday against the North Carolina Courage. Now that's all I've got for you today. We'll be back right after this commercial break.
There was this big bruise on my friend's face. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to think her own nephew could have hit her.
I didn't want to see it. My mother's bank account was emptied, and a caregiver had taken control of it.
I didn't want to see it. My father's refrigerator. There was hardly anything in it. That's unusual for him.
It's tough to see that a senior citizen is being abused, physically, emotionally, sexually, or financially. Elder abuse is a crime.
So see the signs. Stop the crimes.
Really? Buzz, what's up, man? You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point there, Smokey.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Utah is known for being a religious state, and that can make it hard for non-religious students to find their place, but one SU club is looking to change that. Members of the Atheist, Agnostic, and Non-Religious Community Club hosted an open brunch on campus last week. The brunch was for non-religious students to get to know each other, and for religious students to learn more about non-religious beliefs. Attendants ate food and introduced themselves and their beliefs.
Really, anyone is welcome. We've had religious people stop by, non-religious. And kind of what the club does is we're a social organization. We're looking to do some charity work. discussions. We talk about all sorts of things from religion to, you know, just everyday life.
Students interested in joining the club can sign up on Tiber Connection and receive future event notices.
With the end of the semester quickly approaching, SUU students are taking over the library and study halls in preparation for finals week.
April has arrived, and with it the final projects and exams to Southern Utah University. This has qualified the many students as the most stressful month of the year. The affluence to the library has raised a lot since 2 weeks ago, as Christopher Park told us.
Yeah, usually April's a pretty busy month generally for the library, so we get a lot of students coming in that are kind of working heavily on their research paper.
However, not everything are bad news for Tibers. Good weather and sun have come back to Southern Utah. Also, many activities as floatable soccer and photograph expositions on the library have been held by the university in order to relieve the stress. This has been Guillermo Garcia for SUTVNews.
This past Saturday on the 14th, Libertarians in Cedar City led a rally in support of Second Amendment gun rights. About 50 people attended the rally, which was held in Cedar City's Main Street Park. The rally was held and organized by party representatives that were here for the statewide convention for 2018 election candidates. The overall message of the rally was in support of not watering down the Second Amendment, and at the same time promoting the Libertarians are a nonviolent party.
Health officials releases a warning about chopped romaine lettuce grown in Yuma, Arizona. It is believed that 35 people in the United States are reporting E. coli infection after eating the lettuce. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention is telling consumers to not eat the store-bought lettuce that they have already purchased. Also, to confirm with grocery stores and restaurants that the product did not originate from the United States' largest lettuce providing community of Yuma, Arizona.
Founding father Thomas Jefferson believed that the United States should have a primarily agricultural economy, focusing on the idea that hard work and individualism would lead to prosperity. It appears that President Trump agrees. On March 18th, Vice President Mike Pence spoke about farmers in America using the words of President Trump.
As President Trump has said, our nation was founded by farmers, our independence was won by farmers. Our continent was tamed by farmers, our armies have been fed by farmers and made of farmers, and throughout our history, farmers have always led the way, and farmers will always lead the way in America.
The United States is having a national conversation about gun control ever since the shooting in Parkland, Florida, and that conversation took center stage a few weeks ago. Our reporter Grace Scholes shows us how Cedar City got involved.
Cedar City residents took to the streets Saturday morning.
People who say they actually support the Second Amendment, I don't think they actually do.
Marching in remembrance of victims of gun violence and in support of gun reform.
A lot of people want to focus a lot on remembering and mourning for the people who've died, and I think that's really important. But it's also important to figure out what we're going to do to help decrease the amount of people who die in the future.
The march was organized by the SUU Human Rights Advocates Club and Action Iron County, a nonprofit community activism organization.
I think it's important for young people to feel empowered, for them to feel like their voice will be heard, and that in this country we will have people who will support them and empower them.
Over 100 people came to the march, most, but not all, in favor of stronger gun legislation.
It's our constitutional right. It's our God-given right to defend ourselves, protect our homes, our families.
The rest of the marchers, however, were adamant that something needs to be done.
I mean, maybe the Second Amendment is well regulated for the 1800s, but we're in 2017 and people are dying.
In their homes, at the park. The march ended here on the Library Plaza, where students and community members were given the chance to express their thoughts and concerns about gun control and reform. For SUTV News, I'm Grace Schultz.
Well, did you guys hear about the women's tennis team making it all the way to the championships this year?
I did not, but that sounds
great.
fabulous.
Yeah, definite shout out to them. So
that's great. Do we have new players this year? Or?
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Matthew House.
I'm Colton Warren.
And I'm Jenna Chapman. Make sure to tune in on Thursday for a graduation-themed other show.